September 5, 1972. 11 Israeli athletes were murdered live on television. Within 48 hours, Israel's Prime Minister authorized the most controversial assassination campaign in modern history. The killers? A Palestinian terror group called Black September the Avengers. Mossad. What followed was a 7-year hunt across 12 countries, 12 dead, 0 arrests. It changed how nations fight terror forever. This is the story of Operation Wrath of God, Israel's revenge mission that turned the world into a battleground. But Munich wasn't just another terror attack. This was the first time terrorists weaponized the Olympics. 800 million people watching live as Israel's athletes were slaughtered on global television. Black September didn't just want hostages. They wanted humiliation. They wanted the world to watch Israel bleed. And they got it. Until Israel decided to make them pay in ways the world had never seen. On September 5, 1972, 8 members of Black September broke into the Olympic Village in Munich. They killed 2 Israeli athletes on the spot and took 9 more hostage. Their demand, the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. But when German police tried to rescue the hostages at a nearby airbase, everything went wrong. Gunfire erupted. Explosions followed. By the end of the night, all 11 Israeli hostages were dead. For Israel, this wasn't just terrorism. It was humiliation, broadcast live to the world. Prime Minister Golda Meir made a decision that Israel would find and eliminate every single person responsible for Munich, one by one. In her words, "We do not forget. We do not forgive." Mossad mobilized an elite strike team, codenamed Kaidan, Hebrew for bayonet. Their mission: hunt down members of Black September and their PLO allies anywhere on Earth. No arrests, no warnings, just execution, and they didn't waste time. October 16, 1972, Rome. Palestinian poet and PLO representative Wael Zweiter was returning home from dinner. 2 Mossad operatives stepped from the shadows and fired 12 bullets into his chest and head. He collapsed in the apartment lobby and died before help could arrive. Israel believed he was connected to the Munich incident. Mossad believed he funded Munich. Later evidence proved them wrong, but by then, the kill list was already in motion. December 8, 1972, Paris. Mahmoud Hamshari, the PLO's man in France. Agents posed as Italian journalists and gained access to his apartment to schedule an interview. While he was away, Mossad planted explosives inside his telephone. When he answered the next day and confirmed his name, the agents detonated the bomb remotely. The blast tore through his apartment. Hamshari was fatally injured. Within 48 hours, every Black September operative in Europe went into hiding. January 24, 1973, Cyprus. Hussein al-Bashir, a Fatah operative, went to sleep in his hotel room. A bomb under his bed, wired by Mossad, exploded as he turned for the night. Another name off the list. April 6, 1973, Paris again. Basil al-Kubaisi, a professor and suspected weapons smuggler, was gunned down while returning from a bookstore. The assassins fired with surgical precision. Every bullet centered around the heart and head. This was no random hit. It was a signature. By now, you're probably wondering, how did Mossad find these men scattered across Europe? The answer: a surveillance network so sophisticated, even the CIA didn't know its full extent. First, they activated the Sionim, volunteer Jewish diaspora members living normal lives as doctors, bankers, and hotel clerks across Europe. Not spies, not agents, just people willing to make a phone call when someone matching a description checked into their hotel or opened a bank account. Second, Mossad intercepted PLO communications through signal intelligence partnerships with European agencies. Every phone call between Beirut and Paris. Every telegram from Damascus to Rome. They were listening. Third, they followed the money. Black September needed funding. Mossad tracked wire transfers, cash couriers, and front companies moving money from Gulf states to European cells. Find the money, find the target, and fourth, the most dangerous method, they sent agents deep undercover into Palestinian circles. posing as sympathizers, journalists, even arms dealers, building trust over months just to learn one address, one routine, one name. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was psychological warfare. By spring of 1973, fear had become Mossad's greatest weapon. Black September members were changing apartments weekly, growing paranoid, looking over their shoulders every second. But the next move would be even bolder. Not a quiet hit, but an invasion. April 10, 1973. Operation. Spring of youth, Beirut, Israel decided to strike the PLO's leadership in Lebanon itself, in the heart of Beirut, surrounded by armed militias and Lebanese security forces. The target, 3 high-ranking PLO commanders hiding in fortified apartments. The plan, land on a hostile beach at midnight, navigate through enemy territory undetected, hit 3 locations simultaneously, and extract before anyone realizes what happened. The execution was surgical. Israeli naval commandos landed on Beirut's beach under the cover of darkness. Waiting for them, Mossad agents embedded in Lebanon for weeks, driving rental cars with Lebanese plates. Among the commandos, a young officer named Ehud Barak, future Prime Minister of Israel, disguised as a woman in a wig and dress to blend into Beirut's nightlife. They split into 3 teams. Each had one target. Each had a 15-minute window. Team 1 headed to Verdun Street. Target, Mohammed Youssef al-Najjar, Black September's operations chief. Team 2 to Rue Khaled ben al-Walid. Target, Kamal Adwan, senior strategist coordinating attacks inside Israel. Team 3 to a nearby building. Target, Kamal Nasser, the PLO's spokesman and public face. At exactly 1 a.m., all 3 teams breached simultaneously. Gunfire erupted across multiple locations. Al-Najjar was killed in his bedroom. His wife tried to shield him but was caught in the crossfire. Adwan died fighting back, firing at commandos from his apartment doorway. Nasser was shot while reaching for a weapon hidden under his desk. All 3 died within minutes. But here's what makes this operation legendary. The commandos didn't just kill and run. They seized documents, PLO financial records, communication networks, lists of operatives across Europe, intelligence that would fuel Mossad operations for years. Then they vanished. Back to the beach, back to the boats, back to Israeli naval vessels waiting offshore. Total time in Beirut, 90 minutes. Minimal Israeli casualties. Devastating impact. By the time Lebanese forces mobilized, the commandos were already in international waters. The message was unmistakable: nowhere is safe. But Mossad's streak of perfection was about to shatter, and the cost would be measured in innocent blood. July 21, 1973, Lillehammer, Norway. For months, Mossad had been hunting Ali Hassan Salameh, nicknamed the Red Prince, the man believed to have masterminded Munich. He was the ultimate target, the ghost, the one who got away. Then they received a tip. Salameh was in Lillehammer, a quiet Norwegian town where no one would think to look. The pressure was immense. After Spring of Youth's success, Mossad needed another win. They moved fast. Too fast. The target, a Moroccan waiter named Ahmed Bouchiki. He had the same build as Salameh. Similar features. He lived quietly, kept irregular hours. To Mossad's surveillance team, watching from hotel windows and parked cars, he fit the profile. They never confirmed his identity. They just believed. On the evening of July 21st, Bouchiki left the cinema with his wife, Taril, 8 months pregnant with their first child. 2 Mossad agents stepped from the shadows. 14 bullets. Bouchiki collapsed on the pavement in front of his wife, blood pooling beneath him as she screamed for help. He died before the ambulance arrived. He was innocent. A waiter, a husband, a father-to-be. But the nightmare for Mossad was just beginning. Norwegian police weren't the bumbling local cops Mossad expected. They moved fast, tracking the agents to their hotels, finding forged passports, and uncovering the entire surveillance network. Within 48 hours, 5 Mossad operatives were in custody. Within a week, the entire operation was front-page news across Europe. The Lillehammer affair blew up in Israel's face. International outrage, diplomatic crisis, Golda Meir had no choice. She shut down Operation Wrath of God. Mossad's network across Europe unraveled overnight. Agents went dark. Safe houses were abandoned. It was their biggest embarrassment in years. And Taril Buchiki, she gave birth to their daughter 2 months later, alone. Most people think Wrath of God ended here. They're wrong. The real Salame, the Red Prince, was still alive. And Mossad had unfinished business. But this time, they would wait. They would be patient. They would be perfect. Because the next kill would take 6 years to execute. The real climax was still 6 years away. And it would involve a female Mossad agent, a fake identity, and the most patient assassination in espionage history. 1979, Beirut, the final act. For 6 long years, Ali Hassan Salame lived like a king in Beirut. Penthouse apartment, armed bodyguards, a rotation of luxury cars. He threw parties, dated a former Miss Universe, and moved through the city with the confidence of a man who believed he'd won. After Lillehammer, he thought Mossad was broken. After the international outrage, he thought Israel wouldn't dare strike again. He was even rumored to be in contact with the CIA, feeding them intelligence on Soviet operations in Lebanon in exchange for protection. But Israel doesn't forget. In late 1978, Mossad sent an agent into Beirut under deep cover. Her name has never been publicly confirmed, but her legend endures. She posed as a Canadian artist, renting an apartment, attending gallery openings, blending into Beirut's cosmopolitan social scene. Her mission: get close to Salame's world without ever meeting him directly. She befriended his associates. She dated men in his circle. She asked casual questions. Where does he eat? What time does he leave for meetings? Which route does his convoy take? She never rushed, never pushed, just listened, observed, and reported back. For months, she mapped his life. Every pattern, every routine, every vulnerability. Salame had one weakness: predictability. Every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, his motorcade drove the same route through the Rue Verdun district to visit his mistress. Same time, same cars, same security formation. Mossad saw the opening. In mid-January 1979, a team of agents entered Beirut posing as tourists. They rented a Volkswagen, packed it with explosives, and parked it on Rue Verdun, directly along Salame's route. Then they waited. January 22nd, 1979, 3:35 p.m. Salame's motorcade turned onto Rue Verdun. 3 cars, 8 bodyguards. The Red Prince in the middle vehicle, relaxed, windows down, cigarette in hand. As his car passed the Volkswagen, a Mossad agent watching from a nearby apartment pressed the detonator. The blast was massive. The shockwave shattered windows for 2 blocks. Salame's car was torn apart. He died instantly, along with 4 bodyguards and 4 bystanders, including a British student and a Lebanese woman walking with her child. It had taken 6.5 years, hundreds of hours of surveillance, 1 female agent, and 15 kilograms of explosives, but Mossad finally got its man. Operation Wrath of God was officially over. At least a dozen militants were dead. Many more fled underground or quit the fight entirely. Black September dissolved. The PLO shifted from hijackings to negotiations. Israel had delivered its message. If you touch us, we will find you. No matter how long it takes, no matter where you hide. But here's what most people don't know. Operation Wrath of God wasn't just Israel versus Black September. It was a battlefield in the Cold War, and both superpowers were playing. The Soviet Union had been arming and funding the PLO since the 1960s. AK-47s, RPGs, training camps in Eastern Europe. Moscow turned Palestinian militancy into a weapon against Western-aligned Israel. Every PLO attack weakened Israel, and every weakened Israel was a win for Soviet influence in the Middle East. Black September's weapons at Munich, Soviet-made. Their training, Soviet-backed camps in Libya and Syria. The Kremlin didn't pull the trigger, but they loaded the gun. Meanwhile, the CIA was playing its own game. Ali Hassan Salame, the Red Prince, Mossad's ultimate target, wasn't just a terrorist. He was a CIA asset. For years, American intelligence used him as a source on Soviet operations in Lebanon and Palestinian internal politics. Some reports suggest the CIA even warned him about Mossad's movements after Lillehammer. So when Mossad killed Salameh in 1979, it wasn't just revenge. It was Israel sending a message to both superpowers. We don't need your permission to survive. We don't care about your proxy games. Touch us, and we will reach you, even if you're protected by Moscow or Washington. This is why Wrath of God matters beyond the body count. It proved that a small nation could operate independently on the global stage, defying both Soviet aggression and American caution. It redefined what sovereignty meant in the Cold War era, and it terrified everyone. Operation Wrath of God changed the rules of counter-terrorism. For the first time, a state publicly, yet unofficially, pursued targeted assassinations across the globe. It broke international norms, enraged European governments, and even strained ties with allies like Norway. But inside Israel, it became legend, a story of grief turned into power. It also set a new global precedent. After the Wrath of God, intelligence agencies worldwide began to see assassination not as taboo, but as a strategy. The US, Russia, Britain all studied Israel's methods. Decades later, drone strikes and kill lists would become common tools in the war on terror. But it all started here, with Mossad's invisible hunters in the 1970s. Today, Mossad's methods have evolved: satellites instead of safe houses, drones instead of pistols. But the mindset remains the same: deterrence through precision and fear. Wrath of God didn't just avenge Munich, it redefined what justice looks like in modern warfare. Still, one question lingers. Did Operation Wrath of God bring peace, or extend the cycle of revenge? So was Operation Wrath of God justice, or vengeance?
Here's the uncomfortable truth. It was both. To Israel, it was survival. A message written in blood. Attack us, and there is no safe haven, no statute of limitations, no escape. Mossad didn't just hunt terrorists. They hunted the idea that Jewish lives could be taken without consequence. To critics, it was state-sponsored murder. Extrajudicial killings that violated international law, killed innocent bystanders like Ahmed Bouchiki, and set a precedent that any nation could become judge, jury, and executioner beyond its borders. Both are true. Because here's what's undeniable. Operation Wrath of God didn't just change Israel's approach to terrorism. It changed the world's. The targeted killing of Osama bin Laden in Pakistan? That's Wrath of God. American drone strikes in Yemen and Somalia? That's Wrath of God. Russia's assassination of dissidents in London with Novichok? That's Wrath of God. Every nation that conducts extraterritorial operations today is walking a path Israel carved in 1972. The question isn't whether targeted killings work. It's whether we're comfortable with a world where every government decides who deserves to die and where. Did Wrath of God make Israel safer? In the short term, absolutely. Black September dissolved. Hijackings dropped. The PLO shifted from terrorism to negotiation. For nearly a decade, no major terror attack targeted Israeli civilians abroad. But in the long term, the cycle continued. New groups emerged: Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad. The names changed, but the violence didn't stop. Maybe that's the real lesson of Operation Wrath of God. There is no final victory in this kind of war, only the choice of whether to fight it and what you're willing to become in the process. Golda Meir died in 1978, 1 year before Salameh was killed. In her final interviews, she was asked if she had regrets about Wrath of God. She said, "I have many regrets, but not about protecting my people." Operation Wrath of God, 1972 to 1979. Targets eliminated, 12 plus. Collateral deaths, 8 plus. Mossad agents captured, 5. Legacy, ongoing. The hunt never really ends. It just changes targets. If this story made you think, hit like and share it. Because the world is still living with the rules Mossad wrote in blood. And if you want to understand how the CIA and KGB turned the entire Middle East into their Cold War chessboard, where Wrath of God was just one move in a much bigger game, Subscribe, because that story is coming next.